Good morning, students. Let us continue the topic Indigo. Lines from the textbook are: Gandhiji decided to go first to Muzaffarpur, which was en route to Champaran, to obtain a more complete information about conditions than Shukla was capable of imparting as giving. He accordingly sent a telegram to Professor J.B. Kripalani of the Arts College in Muzaffarpur, whom he had seen at Tagore's Shantiniketan school. The train arrived at midnight, 15th April 1917. Kripalani was waiting at the station with a large body of students. Gandhiji stayed there for 2 days in the home of Professor Malkani, a teacher in a government school. Some meanings are here. En route means on the way, imparting means pass on or giving. Explanation of the above passage is: as Shukla means here Rajkumar Shukla was not able to provide Gandhiji with adequate information, therefore he decided to go to Muzaffarpur, which was on the way to Champaran, to obtain the complete information. He sent a telegram to Professor J.B. Kripalani, who was a teacher at Arts College in Muzaffarpur. Gandhi had seen him at Tagore's Shantiniketan school. Gandhi took a train to Muzaffarpur that arrived at midnight on 15th April 1917. Kripalani was already waiting there with his students. Gandhi stayed there for 2 days at Professor Malkani's home, who was a teacher in a government school. It was an extraordinary thing in those days, Gandhi commented, for a government professor to harbor a man like me. In smaller localities, the Indians were afraid to show sympathy for advocates of Home Rule. The news of Gandhiji's advent and of the nature of his mission spread quickly through Muzaffarpur and to Champaran. Sharecroppers from Champaran began arriving on foot and by convenience to see their champion. Champion means a leader. Muzaffarpur lawyers called on Gandhi to brief him. They frequently represented peasant groups in court. They told him about their cases and reported the size of their fee. Extraordinary means here exceptional, remarkable. Harbor means here entertain. Sympathy means support or pity. Advocate means here supporter or protector. Advent means arrival. Conveyance means transportation. Explanation of the above passage is: according to Gandhiji, it was a remarkable thing that a government professor was entertaining him, because in those days people in small localities were afraid of supporting those who supported Home Rule. The news of Gandhiji's arrival and the purpose of his mission spread through Muzaffarpur and Champaran very fast. Sharecroppers started to visit him. Muzaffarpur lawyers informed Gandhiji about the whole situation as they represented various peasants in the court. They explained to him about their cases and the fee that they charged them. Further lines from the textbook are: Gandhiji chided means here rebuked the lawyers for collecting big fee from the sharecroppers. He said, I have come to the conclusion that we should stop going to the law courts. Taking such cases to the courts does little good. Where the peasants are so crushed and fear stricken, law courts are useless. The real relief for them is to be free from fear. Explanation of the above passage is: most of the arable land in the Champaran district was divided into large estates owned by Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. The chief commercial crop was indigo. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 3/20ths or 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. This was done by long-term contract. Some meanings are here. Chided means criticize or scold. Conclusion means result, end of something. Fear stricken means afraid. Arable means here land suitable for farming. Tenants means occupants paying rent in cash or kind. Estate means property. Compelled means here forced. Surrendered means to give in. Contract means agreement. Indigo means here plant that produces a blue color. Explanation of the above passage is Gandhiji scolded the lawyers for charging such high fee from the poor sharecroppers. He decided that it was useless to go to the courts as the judiciary was not doing anything good for the peasants. He said that as long as the peasants were suppressed and full of fear, it was useless to visit the courts. He wanted to set them free from fear. Most of the cultivable land in the Champaran district was owned by Englishmen who had divided them into various estates property. The peasants were the occupants of these lands. Englishmen forced the peasants to cultivate indigo on 15% of their land and to give the crop to them as rent. All this was done through a long term agreement. Further lines from the textbook are presently the landlords learned that Germany had developed synthetic indigo. They thereupon obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% agreement or arrangement. The sharecropping arrangement was irksome to the peasants and many signed willingly. Those who resisted engaged lawyers, the landlords hired thugs. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed and they wanted their money back. Some meanings are here. Learned means come to know. Synthetic means chemical based or artificial. Compensation means payments. Arrangement means process. Irksome means irritating. Registered means opposed or to be against something. Thugs means cheats. Illiterate means uneducated. Explanation of the above passage is while all this was going on, the landlords came to know about the chemical indigo being prepared in Germany. It was a blue color dye made with chemicals. They started demanding money from the poor peasants in order to cancel their agreements as they no longer required the indigo plantations. The sharecropping system was very annoying, so many of the peasants paid for the cancellation of the agreements. But as the news about synthetic indigo spread and reached the uneducated peasants, they started demanding their money back. At this point, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. He began by trying to get the facts. First, he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. Gandhiji answered that he was no outsider. Next, Gandhiji called on the British official commissioner of the Tirur division in which the Champaran district lay. The commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith to leave Tirhut. Proceeded means here begin a course of action. Bully means trying to harm others, considering them to be weak. Forthwith means here immediately or at once. Explanation of the above lines is when Gandhiji arrived at Champaran, he decided to gather the facts. For this, he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary didn't answer him because he could not give any information to an outsider. After this, he went to the commissioner of the Tirur division. Champaran district was under Tirur division. The commissioner not only threatened Gandhiji but also suggested him to leave Tirur immediately.